Hello, Justice Warriors. So, during the 3.5-day pretrial of Richard Allen, we learned that Keegan Klein had admitted to being at the murder scene with his dad, Tony Klein. In August of 2022, Keegan Klein was moved from the custody of Miami County to the Indiana State Police's, and he was taken to Grissom Air Force Base. And this is when his CSAM trial was being delayed because he was supposedly working out a deal. So Keegan told Nicholas McClelland that he and his dad drove from Peru to Delphi, that they parked at the cemetery, which is right here, if you can see that, in their red Jeep, that Tony got out of the vehicle and was gone for a while. So here's the red Jeep. Here's the cemetery right there. Here's goes down to Ron Logan's property. And this is where the crime scene was. So Tony's gone for a while. Then Tony returned covered in blood, making a statement saying they had fun. They left, and according to Keegan, while driving home over the Wabash River Bridge in Peru, Keegan threw out a cell phone and Tony threw out a knife into the river, which is why the Wabash River search happened and began in August of 2022 for over 5 weeks until the mid part of September. Now, I did make a short about Keegan stating, in his own words, in an interview, stating he did speak to McClelland about the Delphi case, but stated that they could not corroborate his story. Now, the red Jeep was not seen on traffic cams coming from Peru, where basically they believe he said that he drove. Now, remember in the CSAM case, we know that their phones were shown to be located in Peru. That's brought up during the pretrial as well. But we also know that when he was claiming they were at their grandparents' house on Paw, the phones actually were showing that they were at a cousin's house in Peru that's very close by to their grandparents, which is a cousin's house on Country Club Road, and it's using the Wi-Fi of that home. Also, before Keegan agreed to meet with Nicholas McClelland, and the meeting was set up with him and the state police, he suddenly had visits from his father many days in a row prior to him going to speak with law enforcement, which was not normal because he had not been visiting Keegan at all. And remember, I showed you the Miami County Visitors Log that I obtained from my FOIA request, showing this sudden urgent need for Tony to see Keegan repeatedly for days in a row prior to him exchanging custody. Now, if you don't know this, I'll bring this up. Keegan's attorney, Andrew Brackey, used to be a partner in the same firm with Brad Rosie. So when Rosie is questioning the officer about the case, Brad Rosie is going to have some information on it. Now, we know if law enforcement is making a deal with you and they catch that you're holding anything back or that you're lying about something, that deal is off. So what if Keegan is holding something back? Like how aware he was of the crime or his involvement. Now, what if he lied about the red Jeep? So remember the witnesses that sees a purple Petrie Cruiser who's on 25, the male witness? He says he sees a purple PT Cruiser or SUV, and then also states he remembers seeing a dark car that may be a smart car. Well, the Keegans have a family member who owned that purple PT Cruiser. And is he trying to protect that family member from being part of this case? What if they asked a relative to use the phone while they were gone in Peru? They say they can't digitally connect the Kleins and Allens. Well, it has been 7 years. They had plenty of time to delete anything and everything they wanted off of those phones. A few people locally do say they know each other, but they cannot connect digitally, which is interesting in that phrase, in my opinion. Now, Keegan is already sitting in jail, but they can't arrest, so there's no hurry, but they can't arrest Tony on just Keegan Klein's word because he is a known liar, obviously, although Keegan Klein did break their alibis, stating that they were not in Peru, they were in Delphi. Now, if Richard Allen would take a plea deal and tell all, could he reveal anyone else involved in any way, like the Anthony Shot setup? We also know that there was a search on Keegan's phone for the Marathon gas station located in Delphi that morning. Now, some info I'm going to say here, maybe, I've shared with you guys, but remember, we have Richard Allen who did tell Kathy Allen, if it gets too much for you, I'll tell everything I know, which I thought was an interesting statement. But here's my big questions. Why would Keegan put himself at a murder scene and not just his dad? Does that make sense? Now, I've admitted my bias to you, but for those of you who tried to poop on the Klein involvement theory, let me just say this to you. Who has been on the law enforcement radar starting from February of 2017 until now? Keegan and Tony Klein. They're still being talked about during this pretrial hearing. And here's the other question. Why is the defense not saying the Kleins did it and not their Odinist theory? I mean, is it too close to the truth? Do they know there's a connection? Why would they not do that? We do know Keegan made Anthony shots. It was talking to Libby since December 2016. He was talking over the weekend. He messaged Libby that morning. Kleins were using the phone starting at 8 a.m. that day, even though Tony works normally third shift. They're both logging in. Anthony Schott says, 2 friends of Libby's, when they ask him, Anthony Schott, did you hear what happened to Libby? And he states, well, they were supposed to meet, but she didn't show up. Well, that implies that Anthony Schott was there. And their friends knew that Libby wanted to meet him. Sometimes there is a little bit of truth in Keegan Klein's lies. But we will see. Thanks for watching, and thanks for making sure justice is served daily.